G'day folks, and welcome to Great Chesterford Junction Model Railway. What we're doing today is we're looking at building a set of coal staiths. I know you can get kits for these things, but I thought I'd like to have a crack at it myself, and we'll be using a retro building material balsa wood, and which is seems to be largely forgotten these days with plastic available and 3D printing and all that sort of thing. So I thought I'd have a crack at it, and because it's got a nice wood grain to it, let's have a go. Now if we just move these coal wagons out of the way for a moment, this is the area where I want to put the coal staiths, and as you can see over here we've got Corbett's Coal. That's the coal office. So I thought I'd like to run them along this way and have 4 bays or 4 bins along this way. So the idea is to make them out of balsa and simulating sleepers, and so there'll be a method I'll use to do that, and I'll show you that shortly in the workshop. Now what I'm using for my template, if you like, on this is a standard sleeper out of a piece of flex track. So as you can see, it's 30mm long. These sleepers are about 2mm thick and about 3mm wide. So what I need to do is cut balsa sleepers to match this, because the coal staiths are going to be made out of sleepers that are actually stacked on top of each other, laying across each other, instead of the standard system where you would see like almost a paling fence type arrangement between each bin. In my case, I'm going to have them laying long ways across each other. So that'll be just a little bit different, and it requires some sleeper posts as well, and we'll have to mark out areas of rust where the chairs have been removed, and possibly some holes for where the screws have been drilled into the sleepers. So first things first, we need to get some basics done here. Okay, this is the balsa I'm using. Now this balsa is 2mm thick and it's 75mm wide. So I'm going to cut from this initially a base, because now that I'm saying I want 4 bins, what I want is 4 lengths of sleeper. So 430mm is 120mm. So I need 120mm in length for the back of the bins, and I also need 120mm in length for the floor base for the bins. So I can get those 2 things out of this one piece of balsa. One thing I should point out with this material is that you can cut it very accurately across the grain, and so I can cut it to length accurately with a scalpel across the grain. But when it comes to cutting along the grain, again you could do it with a scalpel and get some fairly good results, but sometimes in the past when I've tried cutting along the grain, you get mixed results. You get some uneven results sometimes. So what I'll do is I'm going to use a mini table saw that I have here to cut along the grain. Now while we're doing this, it's good to keep everything square while we're moving along. So I've already cut this one end here, and that's spot on, that's square. So what I'll have to do now is measure up the length of 120mm, mark that off, and then cut that clean. Right, we've got our length done now, so I'll have to set up my little table saw so that I can cut an accurate 32mm off that. So there's our 32mm. Now I've just set up the saw to cut the long back sleepers out of this piece of material that's left over from where I cut the base out of. But what I'm going to do first is colour this material. Now to do that, I'm going to use a graphic marker, and we'll just put that where we can see it. And it's quite simple. You just do long strokes. It's sort of a dark brown colour, and
go with the grain, and some areas are light, some areas are dark, doesn't matter. Now what happens with the ends and the edges is that the colour goes a bit darker, and I feel that'll be ideal to sort of show sort of the joins where the boards meet, where the sleepers meet. I think that'll be pretty good actually. Well, time will tell. And of course we'll have to colour this even more once the actual wall is made. That doesn't look very dark at all actually now, but I might go over it a bit more, just put a few more streaks in it. That'll do, and we'll do the other side as well, because both sides obviously will be visible. And this is going to be further enhanced with probably black pastel to get some of that sort of coal stain on it. Any other sort of weathering colour I can come up with, probably done with pastels, and yeah, just to make it look like it's had a hard life. Yeah, that's not too bad. You can see it there. Give it a couple more goes, and I might let that dry just a little bit before we start cutting. Okay, there we have our first one. Right, we now have our 5 long sleepers. Yeah, so I'll just colour these up on the edges that have been cut, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Okay, over here I've got the 5 long sleepers for the back, and I've also coloured the base up very dark actually. And over here I've cut another 5 lengths of 120mm, and I'm going to cut those lengths down into 30mm lengths. Well, we're up to the assembly stage now, and you can see here I've got a big sheet of glass to do the assembly on, simply because it's a nice flat surface and the glue won't stick to the glass. If it does slightly, it's easy to remove the pieces from it. So the plan is to sort of glue these pieces together. There's nothing done at the moment, and then to keep them together, which you can see is a bit difficult, we sort of push them up against the straight edge to sort of get the end aligned, and then bring a rule up and then another rule, and just put some masking tape across each end, and that will keep them pressed tight together while the glue sets. Right, I've got 4 of these long ones done, and all I'm doing is just adding PVA to one edge on them. I'll just get some more, and then you don't want to put too much on there, but make sure it's not going over the edges, which it isn't, and then just stick that to its neighbour on the board here, and just make sure that they are square at least on one end. There's a bit they're a bit out on the length on the other end, but that's okay because there's vertical posts to go up next to them anyway, so I think that's okay. So we'll get that set up. We've got that last one in, so I've just got to now put some more masking tape onto that second ruler. Keep everything in place. So hopefully this will work. We'll stick one down there, and then we'll get another piece and stick it across that one. Right, that'll keep the compression on them. I don't think they actually need anything on top, but they look pretty good at the moment. But just in case, we'll put a ruler, little one on there, and I might put a weight on that as well. So we'll put a weight on there. If it will stand up properly. That's better. Okay, so I'm just going to have to let it sit there and wait and see what the result is. Okay folks, well it's the next day now, and this is dried overnight, and you'll notice that obviously I've removed it. But what I've also done is marked on here is the positions of where chairs would have been, and I've put some chalk pastel across that to sort of indicate where rust stains would have been. And with a 2H pencil I've made little holes where the bolts would have gone through the chairs. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So this is ready. I suppose this particular piece can be joined to the base now, and then we can move on with the making the dividing walls and the end walls. Now I'm just setting out the dividing walls and the end walls, and what I'll do is I'll glue each piece on one by one, bring the rule against them to hold them in place, and then add one more each time, and then eventually just clamp them all down all in one go. And here we have the 5 walls complete, so we'll just have to let those dry, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Now I'm just starting to add the posts on the back wall here. What I'll do is I'll make them sort of round about flush with the top of the wall, and then I'll trim them off at the bottom, because the bottom won't be seen. I'm using the Pico Sleeper as a guide to give me the length, and then the sleeper is placed on here, then just squared up using a set square. Now the dividing walls is a slightly different kettle of fish, because we're going to have to put a post. We'll do it with the other hand. We have to put a post at either end like that, but we also need to do exactly the same on the other side. So I think probably the method here is to stick these two on, let them dry, trim them off, and then do the other side. I've just started adding the walls to the base now, and I think I'll add the second lot of posts once the walls are actually in the coal staith itself. I think it'll be easier to do it that way. Now I'm up to adding the second row of posts, so I've got 2 in here, this one and also the one at the back. So I'll have to do the same for these ones here, all the dividing walls, and then the other end wall as well. So yeah, it's just a matter of cutting them to length and adding them in. So I'll just carry on with that and get it done, and I'll show you what it's like when it's finished. Well, there we are, it's complete now. The actual bins are complete, so what it needs now is some sort of form to actually insert in there, probably made out of polystyrene and coloured black, and then I can glue coal over the top of that. They're a little bit high, these pieces, so they have to be sanded back, and also to get them to fit into the bins I have to take a sand 45 degree off the corners, all the corners, because of the internal posts. It's stopping it sliding in, but I've got it to the point without too much trouble where it will slide in. Okay, the bases are painted now and put aside for drying. Now we've got the messy part. I've got to excavate out this area here so that the coal bins can sit down properly into the landscape here. And yeah, it'll take a little bit of time, so, and make a bit of mess too actually. Well, I've got it marked out with a marker. Now I'm going to probably chisel it out. I'll sort of use a chisel to go along the lines here to cut a reasonably straight edge, and then just excavate out the middle from that. So it'll probably need adjustments, but anyway, it'll take a while and make a mess, so I'll just see how we go with that. I'm back to the matchstick system for the gluing of the coal onto the top. Because I need to be able to, once I've put the coal on, I need to be able to stand the little form up straight away. And so what we do is cover this generously with PVA, and when it's in the actual coal bin, we can also add a bit more if we need it around the edges or whatever. Just depends on how it looks when it sits in there. So we cover that generously with coal, only on the top. We don't want it on the sides. And then we take our bag of coal and then just sprinkle that on over the top. Cover the whole thing. It should be enough, and we always do it over a tray so we can recover what falls off, and just give it a tap and make sure the clamp is still on there. I've got a little bit to touch up around there, but I won't worry about that at the moment. So that's how we get it prepared. Now I've just backfilled down the back of the coal bins here with a mixture of gravel and some coal and that sort of thing, that should be down there. So at the moment it's wet and drying. So the next stage will be to just allow that to dry. It's all the way along here actually. And also I've done over on the front of the bins, so if we just move over here a bit, you can see just this area here is all damp where there was a slight gap between the bin and the gravel, so I've filled that in, so it all pretty much looks flush now. So when all that is dry, well then the coal can go into the bins, and then I'll look at probably a bit more weathering, some black pastel and so on, to stain the area where the coal's been moved in and out and travelled from here to there, that sort of thing. So a lot more weathering to be done. And here we are with the coal loads finally put into the bins. And have a look. I think they've come up quite well. Obviously I need to spill more coal on the ground in front of them and do some more dark weathering, as I said before, but that's got them pretty well finished, and the rest now is just touch-ups and yeah, just adding little bits to further enhance it. Well folks, that's the end of that little project, and you know, I've found out something pretty important through the whole thing, you know, after doing a bit of research. These I initially thought were called coal staiths. It's even a bit hard to say for me, but they're not actually coal staiths, they're coal bins or pens. What I found out is that coal staiths were actually structures that are set up on piers to actually load coal from wagons into waiting boats. And then you've also got coal drops, which is an elevated section where the coal wagons come in and drop their load from the floor to the ground level below into bins there. And then you've got the coal bins, which is what I've just built, or coal pens,
bins, I think, is probably more appropriate. And then that also raised another question. I was told that they should be running parallel to the track, so that the wagons can come in behind them and tip the load over, well, you know, shovel the load over into the waiting bins, which is the way it was done in a lot of areas. But also there were other areas where the bins were set off some distance from the track at a different angle altogether, and in some cases when labour was cheap, the coal load was actually just shovelled out onto the ground or the roadway and then moved by hand later on, so it's all double handling. So I've got probably a double handling situation here, so that's alright. It's only a model, but yeah, to all intents and purposes it's complete except for a bit more weathering and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for sticking with me. This has been a rather tedious build, but there you go. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Cheers, gourmet.